Welcome once again to another exciting edition of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge, presented by Georgia Alabama Sports Live. This is the Wednesday edition of the Scoreboard show. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I run down the scores in and around the Chattahoochee Valley, preview the next games, and preview the lineup on Georgia Alabama Sports Live. I'll even dip into some Braves and some college football. So usually on Wednesday's show, not a whole lot of action in and around Columbus. So I'll touch up on some college football matchups and the Atlanta Braves as well. We did have some softball and volleyball matchups that I will get into. And we also have the 2025 class for the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. I will break down those names as well. If you missed the action yesterday on Georgia Alabama Sports Live, Thrift Behringer was on the call for Troup County and Calvary volleyball. And the Calvary Christian Lady Knights end up winning that match in 3 sets, 3-1, and what a fantastic match it was. If you missed the Harris County Coaches Show, Rick Beach from Kutsu Sports sat down with the cheerleading coach of Harris County, and the Calvary Coaches Show, I sat down with one of the cross-country coaches, Matthew Hale, and we just talked about this upcoming season for cross-country. A lot of games to get into for Week 3. I will preview them on tomorrow's show. But let's go ahead and run down some of the scores that happened around the Chattahoochee Valley as Columbus gets the 16-0 victory over Sumter County in softball. How about the Columbus Lady Blue Devils? They are 8-2 on the season, 2-0 in region play. Remember, one of those losses was to Harris County, and the other loss was to Noonan, higher classifications. I expect the Columbus Lady Blue Devils to be one of the top teams in 2A and possibly get to the South Commons softball complex in October. That is the goal for the Columbus Lady Blue Devils. Meanwhile, the Spencer Lady Green Wave end up getting the 14-8 victory over Carver. And later today, we've got the Shaw Lady Raiders that's taking on Taylor County. And so moving over to volleyball, how about the Hardaway Lady Hawks? In fact, their volleyball coach, Kendall Mills, is going to be featured tonight on Office Hours, the real life of an AD. Join Hardaway Athletic Director, Coach Kendall Mills, Spencer Athletic Director, Coach Joe Kegler, Columbus Assistant Athletic Director, Coach Danielle McCoy, and Carver Assistant Athletic Director, Coach Anson Hunley, as they discuss just the day-to-day operations of an AD and what's going in and around, the world of the academics and athletics in Muskogee County. Very good show. Check it out. It's called Office Hours, the real life of an AD, and you can catch it here on Georgia Alabama Sports Live later tonight. So back to volleyball, as Hardaway ends up defeating Jordan in 2 sets as they get the win. How about the Kendrick Lady Cherokees? They defeated Chatco in 2 sets. And the Kendrick Lady Cherokees are 4-1 on the season. As I get more comfortable and more familiar with these volleyball matches, I do want to say, because we did have Shaw take on Jordan, I don't have a score update on that. Spencer Heard County played as well. I don't have a score update on that. I just encourage just the ADs, whoever is running max preps, just to update your scores. I actually reached out to several coaches to try to get the score updates so I could get them on the show. But I'll do a better job next time, making sure to get all the score updates as far as the matches. And I do want to say that I do have the schedule of what's going on today around Muskogee County as some of the volleyball matches we have. We have Columbus taking on Northside at 5:30. Shaw is hosting Hardaway. Kendrick is on the road taking on Upson Lee. And Carver is taking on Jordan. We do have a cross-country meet starting at 5:15 at Kinnett Stadium. So good luck to all the student athletes. And then, of course, I will break down all the scores and updates for tomorrow's show. So let's go ahead and switch gears and let's talk about the Atlanta Braves because, they had a 4-0 lead on the Minnesota Twins at the Target at Minnesota at the Target Center. Target Field is what they call it, that outdoor baseball field up in Minnesota. And the Atlanta Braves, their bullpen gave up the runs to tie it, but they ended up winning it in extra innings 8-6 as Chris Sale, a Cy Young candidate, will take the mound for the Braves later today. They still haven't gained ground on the Phillies. The Phillies still lead by 6 because they got the 5-0 victory over the Astros. The Braves do play the Phillies for a 3-game series this weekend as they inch closer and closer to winning yet another division championship. But the Braves right now are holding for that final wild card spot. It's going to be a crazy September. Hopefully the Braves can get some players back and they can make that September push into the postseason. I know with college football this weekend, it's going to be epic. I'll get into those games. We've got the WNBA. Caitlin Clark makes her second appearance in Atlanta, and it is the most attended Atlanta Dream game in history, and that's the Caitlin Clark factor. I still think with college football, Major League Baseball playoffs, the NFL, people are still going to pay attention to the WNBA because of Caitlin Clark as the Indiana Fever try to make it into the postseason. And so it's just a great time to be a sports fan. I always love Labor Day weekends because I get to not just sit down on the couch and watch college football, but also do it on my phone when I'm out and about. There are so many intriguing games starting on Thursday, leading all the way up to Labor Day, where this incredible weekend gets recapped with Florida State, Boston College. That is going to be Monday. I'll get into all the games. Starting with Thursday, the teams that are in action on Thursday, you have some ranked teams like NC State, but they're taking on, Western Carolina. You also have Missouri that's hosting Missouri State. Kansas, who's ranked 22nd, is taking on Lindenwood. Here's two games on Thursday's lineup that I definitely want to keep an eye on. I definitely want to watch. North Carolina at Minnesota. You got Mac Brown going up against PJ Fleck. Both teams are unranked, but maybe one of those teams could end up sneaking into the top 25. And then Coach Prime is hosting one of the greatest FCS schools probably of all time, North Dakota State. This is a very sneaky game, but I expect Colorado to win that game. That's going to be 8 o'clock Thursday on ESPN. I look and see Shadur Sanders is one of the top quarterbacks in college football. Travis Hunter is just a dynamic playmaker. But after that, there is a question mark about the line play for Colorado. And I do expect Coach Prime and the Buffaloes to improve from their 4-8 record last year. Maybe 6-6 and get into a bowl game. But they're now in the Big 12, so we'll see how it goes. Locally, UAB, second-year coach Trent Dilfer, they are taking on Alcorn State. By the way, I did see the Netflix documentary on Steve McNair, who went to Alcorn State. It's a must-watch. It's a great documentary. The tragic passing of Steve McNair, it shocked the sports world. I remember 2009, but he was absolutely incredible for the Tennessee Titans. And I remember going to school in Tennessee. I remember that the Titans started becoming big when they went to that Super Bowl, and they were 1 yard away from tying it as they lost to the Rams 23-16. But that's an incredible documentary. It's Untold Netflix. They do a great job with these documentaries. So that's one that I would recommend. Temple taking on Oklahoma on Friday. Oklahoma is finally in the SEC. Well, we'll see how they do. I think that Western Michigan taking on Wisconsin, TCU taking on Stanford. Stanford makes its ACC debut, and they are taking on a TCU team that's 2 years removed from making it to the national championship game. All right, Saturday slate. I always start out watching College Game Day. I don't watch the full 2-3 hours whenever time it starts. I think it starts at 9 and it ends right around 12. I'll actually tune in right around 11:45 when they start making picks. I'm usually out, cutting the grass, doing the honey-do list, just trying to get everything ready. And then come noon, I'm probably going to have multiple devices because I definitely want to watch Clemson in Georgia. That's a noon kickoff. That is the Aflac kickoff at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Georgia is a 2-touchdown favorite, but Clemson is not a cupcake. This is one of those games where Clemson, they do have players. They can keep it close, but if Georgia does what they're supposed to do, they should have no problem over Clemson because they have the best quarterback in college football, in my opinion, Carson Beck. They also have the best defensive lineman in college football, Hardaway's own Mykel Williams. I think Georgia should be fine and they should win this game. I might be flipping over to Fox during the commercials because my two favorite announcers are on the Fox noon kickoff, Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. I love these two guys. Penn State, they are ranked number 8, going to Morgantown to face a West Virginia team that hasn't really been the same since Rich Rodriguez left. And I'm being serious. The Pat White years of Rich Rodriguez, they were winning bowl games. They were beating Georgia. They were beating Georgia Tech. They were very good. West Virginia has not been that way for a long time. I want to say maybe 2007 was the last time that they were a national championship contender. Penn State, it seems like every year they lose to Michigan and Ohio State. If Penn State is one of these teams that is a college football playoff contender, they need to go into Morgantown and they need to dominate. And I love Colby Allard. I think he's a great quarterback. I just want to see what Penn State can do. I love James Franklin as a head football coach. And I was the type of person, take it back to 2011 when the whole Jerry Sandusky scandal, Joe Paterno getting fired. I seriously thought Penn State was doomed, that they would be a bottom feeder for a decade. Boy, was I wrong. They had pretty good coaches. Bill O'Brien was a good coach, but the hire of James Franklin was a home run hire, and Penn State is back to being a college football playoff contender. That's going to be a great game. Looking forward to Virginia Tech and Vanderbilt. That game's going to be a noon kickoff on ESPN. I'm just interested to see how Virginia Tech faces a Vandy team in Nashville under Clark Leah. It's still an SEC team. It's still going to be a team that is going to be competitive. If you're a Tennessee fan, just the debut of Nico Amavela going up against Chattanooga, I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing Ollie Gordon, how well he will do for Oklahoma State. Akron taking on Ohio State. Ohio State should roll away with this. Ohio State is one of the top teams in college football. Could win the national championship. I'm saying that Ohio State is one of the odds-on favorites to win the national championship. Nebraska, I'm excited to see Dylan Raiola. I want to see how he does. He is named the starting quarterback. Here's a game that I might be watching on ESPN Plus. Yes, I do have a subscription. Kennesaw State taking on UTSA, the Roadrunners of University of Texas of San Antonio. Kennesaw State, one of those teams that could surprise some people this year. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Georgia Southern hosting Boise State. I think that is a very sneaky matchup that if Boise State's not too careful, Georgia Southern might pull off the upset. Is it really an upset when you're playing at home and Boise State is not the Boise State of old, like with Chris Peterson, and they were beating Power 5 teams, now Power 4 teams. Alabama hosting Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky is named a starting quarterback, TJ Finley, the former Auburn Tiger. That's going to be a fun matchup. Auburn is taking on Alabama A&M. I just want to see the development of Peyton Thorne, if he is the quarterback that we expect. UNLV snuck up on people last year. I think what Barry Odom did was absolutely fascinating. They're taking on Houston, 7 o'clock on FS1. Looking forward to seeing that matchup. Oh, I did miss some of the 3:30 slate games. So the 12 o'clock slate games, I know what I'm going to be watching. 3:30, I got all eyes against Florida and Miami. This is a must-win for Florida because they have a brutal schedule. Both coaches, in my opinion, are on the hot seat. Mario Cristobal for Miami and Billy Napier for Florida. You got the two quarterbacks, Cam Ward, Graham Mertz. This is going to be an exciting game. And don't be intimidated just because this game's at the Swamp, because I think that Miami can hold their own, and I think they could get the win over Florida. But like I mentioned, this is a must-win game for the Florida Gators. And if you look at some of the other matchups, is there any other 3:30 games that I think that was the one that I really wanted to see. Maybe UTEP, Nebraska. That's going to be on Fox. All right, so the primetime games. Notre Dame, Texas A&M. Oh, man, I am excited about this game. You got Notre Dame and taking on a Texas A&M team that is trying to prove themselves under first-year head coach Mike Elko. They want to try to prove that they belong. And this game, Texas A&M is favored by 3. This is one of those games. Kyle Field, the 12th man. Can Notre Dame get a road win against an SEC opponent? They have not done this in a while. I mean, they went down to Georgia in 2019 and couldn't get the job done. Remember, Georgia beat them in 2017 as well. So can Notre Dame match up well against an SEC opponent? Otherwise, I mean, Notre Dame is a college football playoff contender, but if they could win at Texas A&M, that would be huge for their confidence and the momentum going forward. And I think they're in the driver's seat to get that college football playoff spot. A lot of people think they're going to be maybe the 11th seed because they automatically going to give the 12th seed to the group of 5. And so Notre Dame gets maybe the 11th seed if they, have a good record because they don't have a conference. So the committee might allow them into the college football playoff. But, how big would that be if they got the win over Texas A&M? I'm looking forward to seeing Kentucky and the debut of Brock Vandagriff, the former Georgia quarterback and former Prince Avenue Christian Wolverine. How about the debut of former Carver head football coach Del McGee at Bobby Dodd Stadium, Georgia State, taking on Georgia Tech? That is going to be a great game. And don't forget that I will recap all these games on next week's show, probably on Wednesday, because Tuesday's show I'm going to recap all the high school games. So Wednesday's show is going to be dedicated to recapping the college football and the NFL and all the national stuff happening just in the world of sports. And then we get to Sunday, and we got USC and LSU. This was the matchup everybody wanted to see in 2003. They both shared the national championship. USC, Lincoln Riley has got something to prove. How does USC respond without Caleb Williams? But it's Lincoln Riley. You know that USC now in the Big Ten. USC can be a title contender, but they've got to get the defense right. And LSU, all eyes are on LSU to do something special. Garrett Nussmeier is now the quarterback, takes over for Jaden Daniels. And Brian Kelly, what does he do in year 3? As LSU, has they figured out the defense? That is the question mark. And then Monday, how does Florida State respond after losing to Georgia Tech in Ireland as they take on Boston College? Don't sleep on Boston College. They have a running back who is a Doak Walker finalist, Kyle Robichaux, the former Glenwood Gator. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that matchup. And that's week 2, or actually week 1 in college football. I'm going to say that week 0 is part of week 1. In fact, that's what they have on this list, that it's just a supplement of week 1 because like Jake Crane says, there's no week 0. I mean, come on. Anyway, I'm looking forward to week 3 in high school football. I will preview all the games on tomorrow's show. One final thing before I close the show. Congratulations to the 2025 class for the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. I'm going to run down these names really quick, and I'll have a brief synopsis of what I know. Courtney Couplets Carter. You got Terry Holder, You got the former Glenwood Gator, Columbus native Tim Hudson, who played for the Braves, the A's, the Giants, won a World Series with the Giants in 2014. He was part of the coin toss at the Columbus Lions championship game. He used to coach at Lee Scott Academy. Just a great guy, just well-deserving to be in the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. Marquise Grissom, who got the final out for the Braves in the 1995 World Series. What a great athlete. Played for the Braves, played for the Expos. You have Terrence Mathis, one of the top receivers on that Dirty Birds 1998 Super Bowl team that went 14-2. Terrence Mathis also played for the Jets, but he was known for being one of the top receivers for the Atlanta Falcons. Longtime pitching coach under Bobby Cox, Leo Mazzoni, which he helped develop Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz. And so very well deserved that Leo Mazzoni gets into the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. Hawks play-by-play announcer for their TV broadcast, Bob Rathbun, does a great job with Dominique Wilkins. Just love hearing him on the call. Of course, I love Steve Holman on the radio broadcast as well. Theron Sapp, we got one of the members of Lethal Weapon 3, one of the most prolific shooters in Georgia Tech history, Dennis Scott, and Jeff Wallace. Congratulations to the 2025 class for the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. Their induction ceremony will be sometime in February at the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame in Macon. I want to thank everybody that has watched this show and has supported this show. Don't forget that you can catch more episodes of the Sports Beat with Richard Holdridge on my Facebook page. You can also listen to a rebroadcast of the show. I am found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast. Also, don't forget, I go an hour long, Monday through Friday on WQEE. It's a radio station up in Noonan. You can catch an episode there. I want to thank Thrift Behringer just for giving me this platform and this opportunity to express my voice, run down sports scores, and give the people what they want. Just a scoreboard show where, hey, I missed a game last night. I'd like to find out who won the game. And so that's why I'm here, and I want to give those updates for you. Stay tuned for tomorrow's show where I will preview week 3 in high school football. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day, and we will see you next time.